Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I have a pretty special replay for you guys, as I'm playing a unit that I don't often play with a tech that I rarely see, and I thought it would make for, a good and exciting YouTube video. My opponent here is Martin Luther, who goes for Cost Control Specialist with Hounds and Sabres, and I didn't really know what to play, so I ended up going for Fang Badger. I mean, ultra solid round 1 pack, maybe bested by Crawler Badger, but you can just add the Void Eyes, which are still very strong currently, and that was exactly what I was going to do. Sometimes I try to avoid playing Void Eye if I can, but in these type of scenarios, it's just a logical unit to buy, and that's exactly what I'm going to go for, right? We've got Void Eyes into Saber, which is great, Void Eye into Hound, which is also very nice, and it just makes sense as the DPS unit, which is the thing that I'm currently lacking. I'm going to set up on the left side. I want to use my building and my anti-armor cannon to work for me defensively. I'm going to sell my building on round 1, and my opponent does the same. They're going to be setting up on the left, perhaps expecting me to push into that wall and use this, as a bit of a boon. And yeah, they are going to set up in front of the tower here. It's not fully, standard. They are a little bit in front of it, and really trying to use the space to their advantage. The Fangs here are not bad for them at all. Cost Control Hound can struggle quite a bit into Crawlers because it becomes very difficult to one-shot them. And yeah, especially if I go double defense enhancement, Subterranean Blitz, the Cost Control player will really start feeling the loss of stats that they have on their chaff gear. But here that's not the case. They'll be able to one-shot the Fangs and perhaps even get some levels going early. Voiders are doing a pretty good job. My Badgers are chaff clearing, but the Sabres are still very tanky when I don't have charge shot. And it looks like we should lose round 1. Well, at the very least take down most of the units, but taking down the Sabre is going to be a little bit too much to ask. So it will be Martin to take this first round. Both of us are sitting below 4.5k, somewhat healthy, I guess kind of in the middle of, the range of packs that you can get. And round number 2, we immediately have unit reinforcements. Now, I don't have any anti-air, so grabbing something that can shoot air units seems like the good thing to do for me, which is why I go for the Phoenix. I'm going to position it in a vertical manner like this, where the back Phoenix is on the line with the tower. This should allow it to turn if something shows up on the flank here. And yeah, in the meantime, it allows this front Phoenix to still move forward and help out the main army. Range on the Hounds on round 2. I mean, you can do that on Cost Control, and teching the Hounds very early is still a good thing. They're not the most popular chaff clear units anymore at the moment, but if you are going to play them, teching them early does make a lot of sense. I take a bit of a gamble. I'm going to buy Crawlers because I realize that that is the better chaff into these Hounds, and I go for Charge Shot Void Eye. I do sell my turret on that right side, and I leave my tower fully exposed, which again is a gamble. It is a risk. There is a chance that my opponent picks the unit drop there and goes for an aggressive play, but I'm kind of willing to make that concession because, in the off chance where my opponent doesn't attack the right side, which is completely possible, as shown here, I kind of keep all of my strength on the left, and it even allows me to fight back and win a round where previously I was losing. And that's in spite of my opponents going for a very early Hound tech. Now, losing for them doesn't matter too much here, as long as they get a lot of experience on their Hounds. And I could see that already one of the Hounds leveled up, which is exactly what they're looking for to get over those thresholds, allowing them to one-shot Crawlers. Just gonna speed things up a little bit here, as the Phoenixes are chasing the final Crawlers. We are gonna take those down, and that'll be round number 2 over with. So far, so good. Nothing too special, really. And at this point, I mean, I'm either thinking, do I want to range the Badgers already? Am I afraid of something like armor enhancement? I wasn't really. Normally I would be, but because the Hounds are so far back, I felt like my opponent wasn't going to go for that, and they might be looking into something like Mechanical Rage first. Efficient Tech Research shows up. I did already tech my Void Eyes, but I thought to myself, if I'm going to end up playing Mass Void Eye, which is kind of likely here, it's a very solid line, even into Mass Hound, I'm going to need a lot of techs, right? Range, suppression shots, maybe even aerial mode, and same thing really on the Fire Badgers, range and Scorch, probably some techs on the Crawlers like Subterranean Blitz, so I will be able to make that money back, and that's why I decided to go for it. Opponent does the same thing, and goes for round 3 Mech Rage, which is very, very early. And it should allow them to really start, propelling their Hounds into the next gear and make sure that they start grabbing their levels. You can see that only one leveled, but the others are not too far away. And with Mech Rage, they should be able to even fight back against maybe some of the tankier units. I don't have the money to go for any techs on the Fire Badgers right now. I'm just going to add a Fang on the right side, and I think I just added more crawlers as well, plus a defense enhancement to make sure that maybe it would be a bit harder for the opponent's hounds to clear my chaff, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And now I'm the one struggling again. The Fire Badgers are just unable to deal with all of these hounds. And now I start thinking to myself, do I want to try and go for something, you know, a little bit weird maybe? Or at least in High MMR, it's not something that you see every day, which would be multi-hacker. So a hacker with a multi-beam tech. Not everyone runs it. Some people do. A lot of players opt to go for EMP as that slot, and they often do like running enhanced control as well. But I've been running multi-hack for a while because I once got beaten by multi-hacker trying to do a very similar thing to this. So when I saw, you know, a second line of hounds being built, I thought to myself, you know, maybe it's time to try that out instead. It's not a bad unit at all to pair with the Badgers. And I mean, I've got this efficient light manufacturing that just showed up, and I've got the efficient tech research. So really I can start making good use of those cards, right? Building small units, getting value out of that, and then kind of making my way into range as well as multi-control. For this particular round, I'm not going to be able to do too much, as I want to make sure that I use all of my deployments, 3 deployments a turn, to make sure that efficient light pays back as fast as possible. And that's why I go for double hacker plus a badger. No techs whatsoever. I am expecting to lose this round because it didn't go well last round, and hacker without multi-control doesn't do anything into hounds. In fact, it's very bad into singular hounds like this. So I'll have to just tank this round, but I'm pretty healthy still, and I'm willing to make that concession. And then next round I can just, you know, click the double tech on the hacker, potentially even go for something like range on my badgers, and then just buy a bunch of crawlers, because that will be somewhat important as well. Opponent goes for the same thing, of course, efficient light manufacturing. It makes sense. They're buying a whole bunch of small units, and yeah, as expected, they do overwhelm. Their Phoenixes beat my Phoenix, and I'm taking a good amount of damage here, going down to 2.4k. Round number 5, nothing too special. We do have deployment module, quick teleport. Could consider steel ball production line, I guess, although both of us took efficient light, so never mind. We don't really want to play giants, and that's why both of us here decide to skip. And as I said, I immediately buy the techs I wanted: range enhancement and multiple control. Now, for those of you that don't know, multiple control, just like multi-melter, reduces the range of the hacker by 25 meters. So it's very important here that I do take the range, because otherwise I'm going to be in a ton of trouble. The only downside is that that was rather expensive, and I don't have a lot of money left. So I won't be able to go for range on the Fire Badgers. Instead, I decided to go for Sticky Oil Bomb, which is a little bit cheaper, and it should allow me to chaff clear just as well this round. Looks like my opponent has a very similar idea, as they also go for oil, which is touching the oil that I put down. So fire is going to be everywhere, and I just hope that my hackers are going to be able to do something. Right now, not amazing. They're not really locking on to a ton of hounds at the same time, although as I say that, this one in the middle is doing quite a good job. And what I'm fishing for really is levels. If I can get hacker levels, which looks like I can, this one already leveled. The one in the middle also manages to grab a level, and that's exactly what I want, because multi-control reduces the hacking speed, or I guess the attack of you know, these tendrils, these hacker tendrils, just like multi-melter does. It's the same tech pretty much, and it means that I really need the levels to make up for, you know, the loss of power that I have on every single independent beam. Round number 6, well, I see a spell, I pick a spell. At this point of the game, you know, mid-game, I feel like these type of spells are kind of mandatory. Orbital Bombardment is so cheap, and it can have such a great impact, especially into these boards of smaller type units, into the Phoenixes. So pretty happy to pick it. I'm not going to go for Barrier on my hacker just yet. I felt like it was a little bit too expensive. I'd rather just expend the 200 to place 2 normal bubbles. And then I'm going to go for a little bit of a right side attack, because there are some Mustangs, some chaff on that side. And, well, I want to try and, you know, get out of the orbital, because I did expect my opponent to pick it too. I'm going to sell my Phoenix on this side because, again, I expected Orbital and the level 1 Phoenix would definitely die to that. So there's no point keeping it around. I am going to buy it on the right side where it should be somewhat safer. And hopefully it'll be able to survive in case my opponent puts a Phoenix over here. Doesn't seem to be the case. Instead, they go for Subterranean Blitz Crawler. And they do have double defense enhancement already. I'm kind of lacking in that regard. But I've had to, you know, buy some pretty expensive techs. And I'm also not cost control specialist. So I am just lacking some money. I will have to see how this goes. Thankfully, they don't go for another Phoenix. And I was banking on the fact that the Orbital should probably be able to kill 2 Phoenixes just fine. And if I can kill all of the shields here, I'm very happy about my round. I also picked up all of the hacker levels. As I said, all of them managed to level up, which is kind of premium, I'm not going to lie. That is certainly best case scenario. And you can see that it's starting to have, you know, quite an effect. We're taking over Hounds left, right, center. It's messing with the opponent's Mustang, which was their answer to my hackers. And we get a massive round win. Do keep in mind, I loaned here on round 6. Normally, I would say that you should start loaning on, you know, round 7, which is kind of the rule of thumb. But I felt like I really needed that temp range here to get a little bit of extra power. And I think it justified itself with how convincing that round looked. Round number 7, and we have a whole bunch of choices to make. There are air units that I'm a little bit afraid of, but I didn't want to play Overlord because my opponent already had a lot of small units, some Phoenixes, some Mustangs. I just didn't think this would get a lot done. Aside from maybe countering, you know, the Wraith or the opponent Overlord. Instead, I was eyeing this Vortex. 3 level 3 Vortexes, especially with how cheap the tank techs are, I just felt like was the correct pick. And so that's what I go for instead. I immediately go for Field Maintenance. The other option would have been something like Emergency Armor, which I like clicking as well, but I prefer it if my opponent has really high DPS-based boards, which isn't really the case here. It's a lot of, you know, low DPS, kind of small chips of damage, and in those scenarios I feel like Field Maintenance makes more sense, so that's what I decide to go for. I do realize that I have very little anti-air, so I buy 2 Phoenixes at level 2 and I range them immediately. I am loaning once again. Temp range has been clicked. My opponent goes for the same, although he hasn't loaned, and so they should be ahead quite a bit of resources. Both of us did go for the Efficient Light, but you know, they haven't been loaning and they are cost control. Granted, they do buy another Overlord here. They range it immediately, so they lost a little bit from the Efficient Light, but it's definitely not enough to make up for, you know, the losses that I'm making through this rapid resupply. Right side is not doing too poorly. My missile's doing all right. I do manage to take over some of the units, but not convinced if I'll be able to hold on for much longer. The hacker is going to go down. I just hope that the right side can hold whilst I win the left side. I should be able to with my ranged Phoenixes and, well, the hackers having the levels. Nothing really changed. Only the right side got stronger for them, but the left side we should be able to crush, which we thankfully do. Right side will collapse and we'll lose my tower. But I think I should have enough material left here to be able to get the round win. And yeah, Hacker is a scary unit. It's very, very powerful when it starts going. It can be completely useless if it doesn't, you know, hack anything. It's very, very hit or miss in that sense. But when it starts doing its thing, it's probably the most oppressive unit to deal with. Round number 8. And another Efficient Light shows up. At this point, though, it's a little bit much, and I feel like I don't need it. There is a mobilized battleship for my opponent, which they do pick up in case, well, they want another Overlord for 300 with the techs that they click. And they purchase a second one with Launcher Overload now. That's going to be slightly hard for me to deal with, but I do have a Phoenix on this side. Hopefully it's enough. I am definitely at a hit point total where, even though my opponent is low, I could easily die from this health total as well. Now, at this stage, I kind of knew that Wasp could be a problem for me, but I felt like there were other things that I needed to do as well. I really, really wanted crawlers, stuff like that. Maybe just more Phoenixes to be able to deal with the enemy boats, because I feel like my DPS wasn't great still. And so that's what I'm doing here. Actually go for Scorching Fire. I guess I do that because I wasn't quite sure whether or not my Badgers were able to kill all of the enemy crawlers, which do have double defense enhancement and Subterranean Blitz. But it means that I no longer have the money to go for, you know, the stuff that I really wanted or perhaps needed, which is going to be things like Mustang and again, Subterranean Blitz myself. After all the levels, no money is left. I did pick up the improved firepower control system on this Phoenix all the way on the left, and looks like I'm gonna get flanked here with a crawler and that mobilized battleship. Do make sure to put some crawlers in front to help my vortex out. Hopefully it'll be able to survive for long enough. And, well, the Phoenix is locked on. Hopefully I'll just be able to take that down. But in the meantime, this looks really scary. I do at least take down that Overlord that spawned in. But dealing with all of these shielded wasps is not going to be easy. And all I have is 2 Phoenixes at my disposal for the anti-air. Maybe I can hack some of the enemy Mustangs, which could help out. But I'm going to need a really good debuff here for this to do enough. Mustangs are doing what they can, but I only have 4 of them. Looks like 1 Phoenix pack already died, and the Wasps are just way too much. So I am going to lose this round and take 800 damage, a little bit more even, from those Overlords. Round number 9, and suddenly we have to deal with spells again. Now, I instantly click Incendiary Bomb, but I don't think I should have, because I had the oil available. And I kind of expected my opponent to go for this oil play anyway, since, well, if they can just set my left side on fire, which is my strong side, you know, they might be able to just win the right side by default, or even start winning the left side. So, picking this, I don't think is the best thing I could do. There weren't a ton of influential cards anyway. I could take Photon Emission, but I probably should have just skipped and taken the money. And yeah, you can see the entire board is going to be on fire. Now, this is scary because I need to buy Mustang. I don't really have much of a different choice. I don't think I can go for range AA Wasp into the enemy Mustangs, so I have to go for this to be able to deal with the enemy Wasps. But it's on a turn where I know the entire ground will be on fire, so I'm just kind of praying here that my Mustangs are going to survive. We get a beacon away from the right side, which definitely won't be too great for my Mustangs, as they might end up in my own fire. And you can see that I'm going to float Sticky Oil Bomb here, because I'd rather keep it for maybe next round, and honestly, there's not much I can do with it right now. I guess I could have tried to extend it here and set all of this on fire if I expected my opponent to beacon, but I really didn't. And yeah, a little bit of an awkward turn for me. Now, the good thing is my opponent did add more units on the left side, which allows my Mustangs to have air units to shoot at, which gives them more range and keeps them out of range of all of this fire. So we're not doing too poorly, and I still have some hit points to spare. We'll have to see. The Mustangs here, not doing too poor of a job. Right side is collapsing. It's only a level 1 Phoenix, but if I can get that tower debuff, maybe it'll be enough. Left side's doing okay. That left side tower under some pressure from the Mustang that I hacked. We don't quite take it down, and it looks like I will actually end up losing here. 764 hit points. I think I survive. I do. Go down to 145 hit points as we enter round number 10. Truly a very, very close match, and now we get the 3rd set of unit reinforcements on round 10, with Fortress showing up. Now you can see that my opponent picked it, but I heard him sell it, and I was very afraid of the Fortress drop here. To me, it seemed really good into my Vortexes, it seemed great into my Fire Badgers, it seemed really good into my air units here. I was afraid of, you know, quadruple Fortress with Fort AA. I felt like that was the only thing here that I really needed to play around, but I didn't know how. So I think to myself, well, there's a really big Raiden in there. I could use that as my front line. And, I mean, hope for the best that this will keep my Phoenixes alive for long enough that I can actually, you know, win. But it's not what my opponent does. Instead, they decide to push this right side. They level their Overlords. 2 of them level 3. 2 in front, level 2. And they're going to try and push for that right side tower. Now, I did level all of my Mustangs, though. And, well, with range and AA, it might be enough. I do go for a bunch more crawlers. I have Subterranean Blitz, finally. I did want this tech a while back, and to be honest, I probably should have taken it earlier. But there it is, double defense enhancement, Subterranean Blitz to really annoy those Overlords, and perhaps also annoy the Hounds. And, I mean, let's see how this goes. I still have my Sticky Oil Bomb. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use it, but I end up deciding to put it over here because I felt like, well, if I move most of my crawlers onto this right side, this really shouldn't bother me too much. and every little bit of chaff gear helps to lock onto the important enemy units. And yeah, I mean, the right side here you can see, there's just not enough chaff in front. These boats are really far forward, and so my Mustangs end up insta-locking. Even though these are level 3 overlords, I do manage to lock onto them and maybe even take them down. The left side is doing rather well. I didn't need this Raiden. I didn't really want the Raiden, but, you know, it's there to tank against the potential Forte A. It seems to be doing a pretty decent job, as I managed to win the left side and hold on long enough on the right side. Very close to winning, even. So we managed to take everything over, and looks like round 10 will decide this game in our favor. Scary back and forth, but an interesting one with a unit that I don't particularly love, but, you know, every now and then I think it's allowed, and at least it was with multi-control, which is not something that I have played before, and it's not something that I see that often either. Now, what should my opponent have done? I am kind of curious to, you know, take this back and go for what I was afraid of, what I was playing around, which is this Fortress Anti-Air. I was really afraid that my opponent would do something like this, where they would go Forte A, put a bunch of fortresses down, temp range, temp speed, all of that good stuff, and just boom, 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 triple fortress. And, I mean, there are even some pretty, like, good spaces to put these in, to be honest. Could even put this over here. Probably do want to put down some shields, since I know the oil is available, and, of course, there's the enemy hacker. Let's missile this. Let's missile that. Missiling the front line, always a pretty good idea. Let's sell that Phoenix, because it's not doing anything right now, and we already have the Overlords. And maybe just beacon this in, to be honest. And I mean, aside from that, I'm not too sure what to do. I could go for a bunch more missiles. I could maybe level like a Mustang or something, or level some Hounds. I guess we'll just level a Hound and maybe this one too, and then see how that goes. But yeah, this is the play that I expected, and the way that I was playing around it was to try and use this Raiden, which does do a good job of tanking. But, you know, I wasn't just afraid of Fortress because of the Raiden. Keep in mind that my hackers have very much reduced hacking potential. So with only one tendril locked onto this Fortress, it takes an awful long time to get through. And so even though the Fortress AA doesn't really seem to be doing its job that well, the right side is holding on for much longer than I expected. And now the left side is also moving in. I get that debuff, which saves the Fortress. And it looks like this would have ended up simply winning. I mean, it's rather convincing even. It looks like I did not stand a chance. 2.3k damage there at the end, which would have been plenty to kill me. So, yeah, the Fortress there, definitely the thing to go for. And, yeah, that's the downside to multiple control hacker, right? It's just not really able to hack really big stuff anymore. And just in general here, Fortress, very, very good. I could have maybe even afforded something like Barrier, which presumably would have been even better, but, you know, I think this is already convincing enough of a showing. Anyway, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought about it. Is multi-control hacker something that you see often or use often against, you know, Hounds or even other units that sometimes get spammed? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.